Somewhere in the animal kingdom, almost every single species does something you've probably never thought twice about. It gives birth completely alone. A deer finds a quiet spot in the grass. A whale calves alone in open water. Even our closest living relatives, chimpanzees, in nearly every observed case, give birth without any help at all. Humans are the strange exception. Across nearly every culture, in nearly every era we have records for, human birth has almost never happened alone. Someone else is almost always there. A mother, a sister, a midwife, a stranger. So here's the real question. After millions of years of evolution fine-tuning every other part of the human body, why is childbirth, of all things, the one process evolution left this difficult, this dangerous, and this dependent on somebody else? To understand why, we have to start with the brain. The human brain is, relative to body size, the largest of any primate on Earth. And most of that growth happens either right before birth or in the years immediately after. A newborn human's head is already large enough to make birth genuinely difficult, and it keeps growing rapidly for years afterward, something almost no other mammal does to this extreme. Compare that to a chimpanzee, whose brain at birth is already much closer to its adult size, and whose head poses far less of a challenge during delivery. Humans took the opposite evolutionary path entirely. Bigger brains meant better tool use, better planning, better cooperation, all enormous evolutionary advantages. But that advantage came bundled with an anatomical problem nobody asked for. A skull that had to somehow pass through a birth canal, never designed with a brain this large in mind. At the same time, an entirely different evolutionary pressure was reshaping the human skeleton from a completely different direction. Around 2 million years ago, our ancestors committed fully to walking upright on 2 legs. Efficient bipedal walking required a narrower, more compact pelvis, angled to keep the body balanced directly over the legs with every stride. This is why human hips, unlike those of any other ape, are angled inward beneath the body rather than out to the sides. A wider pelvis would have made walking and running significantly less efficient, and for a species that survived by covering long distances on foot, that inefficiency could be fatal in itself. So evolution narrowed the pelvis for walking at almost exactly the same time it was demanding a larger skull for a bigger brain. Before we continue, if this kind of question is the kind of thing you enjoy thinking about, consider subscribing and sharing this with someone who'd find it interesting too. Now let's keep going. These 2 evolutionary pressures collided directly, inside the same body. Scientists call this the obstetrical dilemma. A skeleton pulled in 2 directions at once, one favoring a narrow pelvis for efficient walking, the other favoring a wide birth canal for an increasingly large-brained infant. Neither pressure could fully win without threatening the other. The result, according to this classic theory, was an uncomfortable compromise. A pelvis just barely wide enough to let a baby's skull through under enormous pressure in one of the tightest anatomical fits found anywhere in the animal kingdom. That tight fit forced a second, stranger compromise. If a human baby stayed inside the womb as long as other primates do relative to brain development, its head would already be too large to be born at all. So instead, human babies are born, in a sense, early. Compared to other primates, a human newborn is remarkably helpless. Unable to cling to its mother, unable to walk, unable to regulate its own body temperature, its brain still only a fraction of its eventual adult size. Human infants are so underdeveloped at birth that some primatologists jokingly call us the only mammal species born as a kind of unfinished project, one that continues major brain development entirely outside the womb in full view of the world. Some researchers even describe the first few months of a human infant's life as a kind of external gestation, development, that would normally still be happening inside the womb, now finishing out in the open, entirely dependent on someone else's care. For decades, the obstetrical dilemma was the accepted explanation. But more recent research has added an important twist. Some scientists now argue that pelvis width alone can't fully explain how short human pregnancy is. Instead, they point to something else: the mother's own metabolism. Pregnancy is metabolically expensive, and there may be a biological ceiling to how long a mother's body can sustain the energy demands of a still growing fetus before continuing the pregnancy would become dangerous for her, not just difficult for the baby. This idea, sometimes called the energetics of gestation and growth hypothesis, doesn't replace the obstetrical dilemma entirely, but it does complicate the simple story of the pelvis is just too narrow. The truth, as usual with evolution, is probably some combination of both pressures acting together. Under this newer model, birth doesn't happen because the pelvis physically runs out of room. It happens because the mother's body reaches its limit first. Whichever explanation turns out to be more accurate, the outcome was the same. Human childbirth remained, for nearly all of our history, one of the most dangerous events in a woman's life. Before modern medicine, maternal death during childbirth was tragically common across nearly every human population on record, in every era, in every part of the world. Estimates suggest that in some historical populations, as many as 1 in 100 births ended in the mother's death, a staggering risk compared to almost any other primate species. Unlike almost any other primate, a human mother in labor frequently could not simply manage the process alone, even if she wanted to. Her body, quite literally, needed outside help to get a baby safely into the world. And this is where humans genuinely stand apart from the rest of the animal kingdom. Chimpanzees give birth alone. Gorillas give birth alone. Nearly every primate species manages birth entirely without assistance. Humans, almost universally, do not. Anthropologists call this pattern obligate midwifery. Across cultures separated by oceans, thousands of years, and no contact with one another, human societies independently arrived at the same solution: someone assisting during birth, whether a trained midwife, an experienced relative, or simply another woman who had been through it before. Even in societies with no formal medical training at all, the presence of an experienced attendant measurably improved survival for both mother and child, a pattern anthropologists have documented across hunter-gatherer societies on nearly every continent. This wasn't taught by any single culture to another. It emerged independently again and again because biology essentially demanded it. Which brings us to the real answer to the original question. Evolution didn't fix childbirth because evolution never actually needed to. It found a different kind of solution entirely, not written into anatomy, but written into behavior. Cooperation. Shared knowledge passed between women and the simple presence of another person at the most vulnerable moment of human life. In a strange way, human childbirth may be one of the clearest pieces of evidence that our species survives less through pure biological perfection and more through community stepping in exactly where biology falls short. So the truth is stranger and somehow more hopeful than evolution failed us. Evolution built a body caught between two of its own greatest achievements: a walking body and a thinking one. And when biology couldn't fully resolve that tension on its own, our species answered with something biology alone could never provide each other. Every single human being alive today exists because, at some point in an unbroken chain stretching back hundreds of thousands of years, somebody else showed up. Not to give you answers, to reveal the paradox. Every question has a story. Welcome to human mystery.